Captain Tejo stared at the dark void outside his ship's window. The stars looked cold and distant like they always did. His ship, the Iron Will, had been traveling for 3 months now, searching for new planets that humans could live on. It was the same job he had done for 20 years. Tejo was 45 years old. His grandfather had told him stories about a place called Earth, where all humans came from long ago. But those were just stories. Nobody alive had ever seen Earth. Most people said it was destroyed 10,000 years ago. "Captain," called Mi Young from her seat at the navigation controls. "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Tejo walked over to look at her screen. Mi Young was the best navigator he had ever worked with. She could read star charts better than anyone. If she said something was strange, it was worth checking. "What do you see?" Tejo asked. Mi Young pointed at the screen. "There's a signal coming from that direction. It's very old, but still transmitting. The pattern looks familiar, but I can't place it." Dongsik looked up from his weapon controls. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of fighting. Could be a trap. Pirates like to use old signals to trick ships. "No," said Yujin, the communications officer. She was young, but very smart with electronics. "This signal is different. It's not human, but it's not like anything we use now either. The technology is ancient." Tejo made his decision. "Set course for the signal. But keep our weapons ready." It took them 6 hours to reach the source. What they found floating in space was a small probe, very old and damaged. Yujin worked for 2 hours to connect to its systems without breaking them. "I've got it," she finally said. "Captain, you need to hear this." The voice that came through the speakers was not human. It spoke in a language that sounded harsh and angry. But Yujin had programmed the computer to translate it. "This is Commander Vex of the Vorthak Empire. We have completed the cleansing of the 3rd planet in this system. The human infestation has been removed. The world now serves as our new capital. Long live the Empire." The bridge went silent. Tejo felt his heart beating faster. "Play it again," he said quietly. They listened 3 more times. Each time the words hit harder. Humans. Cleansing. 3rd planet. Capital. "Mi Young," Tejo said. "Check the probe's navigation data." Where did the signal come from? Mi Young's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Her face went pale as she read the results. "Captain, these coordinates?" They matched the old stories. "The ones about Earth." Dongsik stood up so fast his chair fell over. "That's impossible. Earth was destroyed. Everyone knows that." "Maybe everyone was wrong," Yujin said softly. "Maybe Earth wasn't destroyed. Maybe it was taken." Tejo studied the star charts on the main screen. The coordinates showed a system far from where they were now. It would take months to get there, even with their fastest ship. But if the probe was right, if Earth still existed... "Captain," Mi Young said, "there's more data here. Records of other planets the Vorthak conquered. They didn't just take Earth, they built an empire." For the next hour, they studied everything the probe contained. The Vorthak Empire controlled hundreds of worlds. They had ruled for thousands of years, and they had made Earth their capital, their most important planet. "They erased us," Dongsik said angrily. "They took our home and pretended we never existed." Yujin was reading more files. "According to this, humans are considered extinct. The Vorthak teach their children that humans were just a myth, a story to scare them." Tejo felt something cold and hard growing in his chest. For 10,000 years, humans had lived in the dark spaces between stars. They had no real home, no center to their civilization. They were scattered across the galaxy like dust. And all this time, their real home had been stolen from them. "What do we do, Captain?" Mi Young asked. Tejo looked at his crew. These 3 people had served with him for years. They trusted him to make the right choices. But this choice would change everything. "We go home," he said finally. "But first we take this information to Admiral Hyunwoo. Every human in the galaxy needs to know the truth." The journey back to human space took 2 weeks. During that time, Tejo couldn't sleep well. He kept thinking about the probe's message. Cleansing. That was what the Vorthak called it when they killed every human on Earth. When they finally reached New Sol Station, Tejo went straight to the Admiral's office. Hyunwoo was an old man with gray hair, but his eyes were still sharp. He had been fighting to keep humanity alive for 50 years. "Admiral," Tejo said, "I have something you need to see." They played the probe's message. Hyunwoo listened without saying anything. When it finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Earth," he said finally. "After all these years, What are your orders, sir? Hyunwoo stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Send word to every human colony, every ship, every station. Tell them we found our home. And tell them it's time to take it back. Taeho felt his heart racing again. Sir, the Vorthak Empire is huge. They have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. Yes, Hyunwoo said, turning back to face him. But they think we're extinct. They've forgotten how dangerous humans can be when they have nothing left to lose. Over the next few days, messages went out across human space. The news spread like fire. Earth was alive. Earth was stolen. Earth could be taken back. Taeho watched from his ship as other vessels began arriving at New Seoul Station. Warships, transport ships, mining ships converted to carry weapons. Humans were coming from everywhere, ready to fight for something they had never seen, but had never stopped dreaming about. Captain, Yujin said one morning, do you really think we can do this? Take Earth back from an empire that's ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years? Taeho looked at the growing fleet outside. Each ship represented families, communities, entire worlds of humans who had survived in the darkness. They had adapted, grown strong, learned to fight, and never give up. Yujin, he said, the Vorthak made one big mistake. They should have made sure we were really extinct. Admiral Hyunwoo stood in the command center of New Seoul Station and watched the biggest gathering of human ships he had ever seen. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Taeho brought news about Earth. In those 3 weeks, everything had changed. Ships kept arriving every day. Some were military vessels with weapons and armor. Others were cargo ships loaded with supplies. A few were small family ships carrying people who just wanted to help. All of them had come for the same reason. They wanted to take back humanity's home. Admiral, said Sora, his chief of strategy, we now have over 800 ships. More are coming. Sora was 38 years old and the smartest person Hyunwoo had ever met. She could look at a battle plan and spot problems that others missed. If anyone could figure out how to fight the Vorthak Empire, it was her. How many people does that give us? Hyunwoo asked. About 200,000 fighters plus support crew. It's the largest human force ever assembled. Hyunwoo nodded, but he wasn't sure if it was enough. The intelligence reports about the Vorthak Empire were frightening. They controlled over 400 star systems. Their military had millions of soldiers and thousands of warships. Jin-Ho walked into the command center carrying a data pad. He was the elected leader of the human colony worlds, and he looked worried. Admiral, I have the resource reports from all our worlds. The colonies are giving us everything they can, but it's not much. What do we have? Hyunwoo asked. Food for 6 months, ammunition for maybe 3 major battles, and enough fuel to get us to Vorthak space. After that, Jin-Ho shrugged. Sora looked up from her tactical display. We can't win a long war. We have to hit them hard and fast. Speaking of hitting them, said a new voice. Inbi walked into the room carrying a coffee cup and looking tired. She was Hyunwoo's best spy, and she had just returned from a dangerous mission into Vorthak territory. What did you learn? Hyunwoo asked. Yunbi sat down and rubbed her eyes. Good news and bad news. The bad news is that the Vorthak military is as strong as we thought. Maybe stronger. And the good news? They've gotten soft. 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy with no real opposition has made them lazy. Their soldiers are not well trained. Their equipment is old, and they have no idea how to fight an enemy like us. Sora leaned forward. What do you mean? The Vorthak fight like they always have. Big fleets, direct attacks, overwhelming force. They don't understand guerrilla warfare or hit-and-run tactics. They've never had to. Hyunwoo felt hope stirring in his chest. What else? They really do think humans are extinct. When I was in their space, I heard Vorthak children being told that humans were just scary stories. Their government has spent so long denying we existed that even they believe it now. Changmin, the diplomat, spoke up from his corner. I've been talking to other species that the Vorthak have conquered. Many of them hate their rulers. They might help us. Can we trust them? Jin-Ho asked. Some of them. The Kalani people especially. The Vorthak destroyed their homeworld 50 years ago. They want revenge almost as much as we do. Hyunwoo walked over to the big display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked Vorthak worlds. Blue dots showed human colonies. The red dots outnumbered the blue by hundreds to 1. Admiral, Sora said quietly, there's something else we need to discuss. What do we do when we win? You mean if we win? Jin-Ho corrected. No, I mean when. Because if we're going to do this, we have to believe we can win. But winning brings its own problems. Do we try to take over the Vorthak Empire? Do we just free Earth? Do we destroy them completely? The room went quiet. It was a question that had been bothering Hyunwoo for days. The Vorthak had killed billions of humans. They had stolen humanity's birthright. Part of him wanted to make them pay for everything they had done. We'll decide that when we get there, he said finally. Right now our only goal is to reach Earth. Over the next week, more ships arrived. The human fleet grew to over 1,000 vessels. Hyunwoo met with captains and commanders from dozens of different colonies. Each one had their own story of loss, their own reason for fighting. Captain Taeho came to see him one evening. Admiral, my crew has been studying the probe data. We think we've found something important. What is it? The Vorthak have made Earth into their capital, but they've also made it their weakness. All their most important leaders live there. All their military planning happens there. If we can take Earth, we can cut the head off their empire. And if we fail, then we die trying to get home. I think most of our people would accept that. That night, Hyunwoo couldn't sleep. He walked through the station's corridors and looked out at the fleet. The ships floated in space like stars, their lights twinkling in the darkness. Each one carried hundreds of people who were willing to die for a world they had never seen. The next morning, he called a meeting of all the senior officers. The command center was packed with captains, generals, and colony leaders. My friends, Hyunwoo began, for 10,000 years, humanity has survived in the darkness between stars. We have no center, no home, no place where we truly belong. We have been scattered like seeds in the wind. The room was completely silent. 3 weeks ago, we learned the truth. Our home was not destroyed. It was stolen. The Vorthak Empire took Earth and made it their own. They tried to erase us from history, to pretend we never existed. Some people in the crowd were nodding, others had angry expressions. Today I am asking all of you to do something that might be impossible. I am asking you to help me take back our home. The journey will be long. The battle will be terrible. Many of us will not survive. Hyunwoo paused and looked around the room. He saw determination in their faces, but also fear. But if we succeed, if we can take back Earth, we will give humanity something it has not had for 10,000 years. We will give our children a real home. Captain Taeho stood up. When do we leave, Admiral? Hyunwoo smiled for the first time in weeks. We leave tomorrow. All ships, all crews, all weapons. We're going home. The cheer that went up from the crowd could be heard throughout the station. Outside, the lights of 1,000 ships flickered like fireflies in the night, ready to carry humanity back to the world they had never forgotten. Commander Ki-woon floated in the darkness between two asteroids, watching the Vorthak supply convoy through his helmet display. His stealth suit made him invisible to their sensors, but he could see everything. 20 cargo ships protected by 6 warships, carrying food and weapons to a Vorthak military base. It had been 4 months since the human fleet left New Seoul Station, but they had not gone straight to Earth. Admiral Hyunwoo had a different plan. First, they would learn about their enemy. They would hit small targets, study Vorthak tactics, and make the Empire afraid. Ghost Leader, this is Ghost 2, came Hana's voice through his comm. She was hidden on the other side of the convoy. I count 6 escort ships, all old models. Their shields look weak. Ki-woon smiled inside his helmet. Hana was his best infiltration specialist. She could disguise herself to look like almost any alien species. The Vorthak would never expect her to be human. Ghost 3 report, Ki-woon whispered. Jamming systems ready, replied Junseo. I can cut their communications for 10 minutes, maybe 15. Ghost 4? Fighters standing by, said Yejin. Her voice was calm, but Ki-woon knew she was excited. Yejin loved flying the new stealth fighters that human engineers had built. The Vorthak had never seen anything like them. Ki-woon checked his watch. In 60 seconds, the convoy would pass through the narrow space between 2 large asteroids. That was when they would strike. All units prepare for attack. Remember, we want prisoners and intelligence. Try not to destroy everything. The 60 seconds felt like hours. Then the first Vorthak ship entered the asteroid field. Now, Ki-woon ordered. Junseo activated his jamming equipment. Instantly, all Vorthak communications died. The convoy was blind and deaf. Yejin's fighters appeared from nowhere, their weapons blazing. The stealth systems made them invisible until they fired. 2 Vorthak escort ships exploded before they knew they were under attack. Ki-woon activated his thruster pack and flew toward the largest cargo ship. Hana was already there, cutting through the hull with a plasma torch. The Vorthak inside had no idea what was happening. Cargo ship secured, Hana reported 5 minutes later. I have 3 prisoners in their computer systems. Good work. All units, fall back. We have what we came for. The attack was over in 12 minutes. 4 Vorthak ships were destroyed. The rest were damaged and confused. By the time their communications came back online, the humans had vanished like ghosts. Back on the command ship, Kiwoon and his team studied what they had captured. The computer files were full of useful information. Supply routes, patrol schedules, even personal messages from Vorthak soldiers. Listen to this, said Wu Jin, the intelligence analyst. He was young but very good at understanding enemy plans. This is a message from a Vorthak commander to his family. He says the border worlds are getting nervous. There have been strange attacks, ships disappearing, supply convoys being raided. They don't know it's us, Hana observed. They think it might be pirates or rebels. Kiwoon nodded. That was perfect. The longer the Vorthak stayed confused, the better. Over the next 2 months, Kiwoon's team hit 12 more targets. They destroyed supply bases, captured weapons shipments, and rescued prisoners from labor camps. Some of those prisoners were humans who had been slaves for generations. Commander, one of the freed humans, told Kiwoon, "We thought we were the only ones left. We thought humanity was extinct." "Not extinct," Kiwoon replied, "just hidden, and very angry." The rescued humans told terrible stories about life under Vorthak rule. Families torn apart, children taken to be slaves, entire communities wiped out for the smallest acts of rebellion. Each story made Kiwoon more determined to make the Vorthak pay. But the raids also revealed something disturbing. The Vorthak were not just occupying Earth, they were destroying it. "Look at these mining reports," Wu Jin said one day, his face pale. "They're strip mining the ocean floors. They've torn down entire mountain ranges. They're digging so deep into the planet's core that they're destabilizing the tectonic plates." Kiwoon stared at the data. Earth was dying. The Vorthak were literally tearing the planet apart to fuel their empire. "How long does Earth have?" he asked. "Maybe 50 years before the planetary ecosystem collapses completely. Maybe less." That night, Kiwoon sent an urgent message to Admiral Hyunwoo. The plan to slowly weaken the Vorthak Empire was taking too long. Earth couldn't wait for a careful campaign. They needed to act soon, or there would be nothing left to save. The Admiral's reply came back within hours. "Continue your mission. Make them hurt. We're almost ready for the final assault." Kiwoon's raids became more aggressive. Instead of just hitting supply convoys, his teams began attacking military bases and government facilities. They made sure to leave evidence that humans were responsible. The effect on Vorthak morale was immediate. Ye Jin intercepted enemy communications during one raid. "They're terrified," she reported. "They keep talking about the ghost humans who attack from nowhere and disappear without a trace." Ghost humans? Kiwoon liked that. Let them be afraid. Fear makes people make mistakes. The biggest mistake came when a Vorthak admiral decided to set a trap. He sent out a fake supply convoy with a secret military escort hidden nearby. When Kiwoon's team attacked, the hidden ships would surround them. But Wu Jin spotted the trap by analyzing the convoy's route and cargo manifest. Instead of falling for it, Kiwoon turned it around. "Hana, can you get aboard the Admiral's command ship?" "Give me 2 hours," she replied. While the Vorthak waited for humans to attack their fake convoy, Hana infiltrated their command ship. She planted explosives and downloaded their entire military database. When the explosives went off, the Vorthak lost their admiral, their command ship, and their secret battle plans. The fake convoy never got a chance to spring its trap. "This is impossible," Kiwoon heard one surviving Vorthak officer scream over the radio. "Humans have been extinct for 10,000 years. "Not extinct," Kiwoon whispered to himself. "Just waiting." The intelligence Hana captured revealed something important. The Vorthak were planning to move their most powerful fleet to Earth to protect their capital. They knew humanity was coming, but they didn't know when or how many humans were coming or what weapons they had. The raids had made the Vorthak afraid, but they had also made them desperate. Kiwoon sent his final report to Admiral Hyunwoo. "Enemy morale is broken. Their supply lines are disrupted, but they're concentrating their forces around Earth. If we're going to do this, we need to do it soon." The reply came back immediately. "Mission accomplished, Commander. All raiding teams return to the fleet. Tomorrow we go home." As Kiwoon's ship flew through hyperspace toward the rendezvous point, he thought about everything his team had learned. The Vorthak Empire was strong, but it was also afraid. They had forgotten how to fight a real war because they had not faced a real enemy in thousands of years. But humans remembered. Humans had never stopped fighting, never stopped struggling to survive. The Vorthak had tried to erase humanity from the galaxy, but they had only made humans stronger. Hana, Kiwoon said as Earth's system appeared on their navigation display. Are you ready to see home? Hana looked at the stars ahead. I'm ready to take it back. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the blue world hanging in space before him. Earth. After 10,000 years, humanity had come home. But Earth was not alone. Between the human fleet and their homeworld was the largest military force in the galaxy. 3,000 Vorthak warships surrounded the planet like a metal shell. Weapons platforms floated in orbit. Energy shields covered the entire world. Admiral, said Sora, studying her tactical display. They have us outnumbered 3-1, maybe more, Hyunwoo nodded. The intelligence reports had been accurate. The Vorthak had brought everything they had to defend Earth. This would be the biggest space battle in history. Sir, called the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the Vorthak fleet. Put it on the main screen. The image that appeared was of a Vorthak general with purple skin and 4 arms. His voice was cold and arrogant. Unknown fleet, you are trespassing in Vorthak space. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed. Hyunwoo stepped forward. I am Admiral Hyunwoo of the Human Defense Fleet. We have come to reclaim our homeworld. The Vorthak general's eyes widened. For a moment he seemed too shocked to speak. Then he began to laugh. Humans? Impossible. Humans have been extinct for 10,000 years. You cannot be human. We are very much alive, Hyunwoo replied, and we want our planet back. Even if you were human, which you are not, you would have no right to this world. It belongs to the Vorthak Empire now. It is our capital, our most sacred world. You stole it. We're taking it back. The general's laughter stopped. You have 1,000 ships. We have 3,000. You will die here, maybe, but we'll die fighting for home. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo turned to his crew. All ships prepare for battle. This is what we came for. Wing Commander Sang-ho was already in his fighter, floating in space near the flagship. Around him, 500 human fighters waited for the order to attack. The fighters were small and fast, built for hit-and-run tactics. All wings, this is Sang-ho. Remember, we're not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to punch a hole through their lines so the ground forces can land. Copy, Wing Leader, came dozens of voices. These were the best pilots humanity had. Volunteers from every human colony. Admiral Hyunwoo to all ships. The Admiral's voice came over the comm. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors were driven from this world. Today, we take it back, for Earth, for humanity. The battle began. 1,000 human ships charged toward 3,000 Vorthak vessels. The space between them lit up with weapons fire. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers as ships on both sides were destroyed. Sang-ho led his fighters in a diving attack against a group of Vorthak cruisers. The enemy ships fired everything they had, but the human fighters were too fast and too small. They slipped through the defensive fire like ghosts. Target their weapon systems, Sang-ho ordered. We don't need to destroy them, just blind them. The fighters struck like a swarm of angry insects. Their weapons were small, but they were precise. One by one, the Vorthak cruisers lost their guns, but the enemy had advantages too. Their ships were bigger and stronger. Human vessels exploded under the heavy Vorthak fire. Good friends and brave warriors died in the cold darkness of space. Admiral, Sora reported, we're losing ships faster than they are. We can't win a straight fight. Then we don't fight straight. All ships execute Plan 7. Plan 7 was something the humans had learned during their years of exile. When you can't win with strength, you win with tricks. The human fleet suddenly split apart, scattering in all directions. The Vorthak formation tried to follow, but they were too big and slow to keep up. Human ships appeared behind enemy vessels, fired quickly and disappeared again. Engineer Kangdae was aboard a small stealth ship, heading for Earth's planetary shield generators. His job was the most dangerous of all. He had to get through the battle, reach the planet's surface, and shut down the shield so the ground forces could land. Kangdae to control, he whispered into his comm. I'm approaching the first shield station. Beginning descent. His ship was so small that the Vorthak sensors didn't see it. He slipped past their orbital defenses and landed on Earth's surface near a massive energy generator. Earth looked different than the old pictures he had seen. The sky was purple instead of blue. Strange alien plants covered the landscape, but underneath it all he could feel that this was still the world where humanity began. Kang Day worked quickly to plant explosives around the shield generator. He could hear the battle raging in space above him. Human fighters screamed overhead, chased by Vorthak interceptors. "First generator down," he reported as the explosives went off. "Moving to target 2. Back in space, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the tactical display as sections of Earth's shields flickered and died. Kang Day was doing his job perfectly. "Sora, prepare the ground assault. We'll only get one chance at this." Marine Colonel Bora was already in her dropship with 500 of humanity's toughest soldiers. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, landing on Earth and taking it back from the aliens who had stolen it. "All Marines, listen up," Bora said over the comm. "In 5 minutes, we're going to set foot on humanity's birth world. Some of you might not make it, but those who do will be the first humans to walk on Earth in 10,000 years. The dropships launched from the human fleet and dove toward the planet. Vorthak fighters tried to intercept them, but Sang-Ho's wing was waiting. "Not today," Sang-Ho muttered as he shot down a Vorthak interceptor. "Today is our day." Bora's dropship crashed through the atmosphere and slammed into the ground near a Vorthak military base. The Marines poured out, their weapons ready. "Move, move, move," Bora shouted. "Secure the landing zone." The Vorthak soldiers at the base had never fought humans before. They had trained to fight other aliens with their slow movements and predictable tactics. But humans were different. Humans were fast, unpredictable, and absolutely fearless. The Marines swept through the base like a storm. Within an hour, they had captured it and were spreading out across the continent. Field medic Nari worked frantically to save wounded Marines in a makeshift hospital. The battle was going well, but people were getting hurt. That was her job now, to make sure as many humans as possible lived to see their victory. "Medic," called a Marine with a wounded arm. "We need help over here." Nari ran to help him. As she worked, she could see Earth's alien sky through a hole in the building's roof. Soon she hoped that sky would belong to humans again. The battle raged for 6 hours. In space, the human fleet fought desperately against overwhelming odds. On the ground, Marine units captured key positions across the planet. Then something unexpected happened. A group of Vorthak ships broke formation and began attacking their own allies. "Admiral," Sora said in surprise, "those are Kalani ships." Chung Min's diplomatic mission worked. "The subject races are joining us." More and more alien ships turned against the Vorthak. Species that had been enslaved for thousands of years finally had a chance to fight back. The Vorthak formation collapsed. Without their allies, they couldn't maintain their defensive line. Human ships poured through the gaps heading for Earth. "All ground forces, this is Admiral Hyunwoo. The orbital battle is won. Earth is yours." Bora looked up at the sky as human ships passed overhead. For the first time in 10,000 years, Earth belonged to humanity again. But the victory had come at a terrible price. Half the human fleet was destroyed. Thousands of brave men and women had died to reach this moment. "Nari," Bora said to the medic, "how many wounded do we have?" "Too many," Nari replied sadly. "But we made it. We're home." Bora knelt down and touched the alien soil with her hand. Somewhere beneath this strange ground were the bones of the humans who had lived here before the Vorthak came. Their long exile was finally over. "Yes," she whispered. "We're home." Colonel Jamin walked slowly through the ruins of what had once been New York City. The buildings were gone, replaced by strange alien structures that looked like twisted metal and glass. The streets were covered with purple plants that grew in geometric patterns. This was Earth, but it was not the Earth that humans remembered. 3 months had passed since the battle. The Vorthak Empire had surrendered, their fleets scattered or destroyed. Earth belonged to humanity again, but victory felt different than Jamin had expected. "Colonel," called Sujin, the team's archaeologist, "I found something over here." Sujin was digging carefully in what used to be Central Park. The Vorthak had built a city on top of it, but she had found traces of the old world underneath. She held up a small piece of metal, green with age. "It's a street sign," she said excitedly. "It says Broadway. This is really it. This is where humans lived." Jamin took the sign and turned it over in his hands. Such a simple thing, but it proved that humans had really been here. For 10,000 years, Earth had been just a story. Now they had proof. "Keep digging," he told Sujin. "I want to find more." Across the continent, terraforming engineer Minho was studying soil samples near what had once been the Amazon rainforest. The Vorthak had cut down all the trees and planted their own crops. But Minho thought he might be able to bring back some of the old ecosystem. The good news, he told his team, is that the soil isn't completely dead. Some earth microbes survived in deep layers. We might be able to restore parts of the original biosphere. How long would it take? Asked his assistant. Centuries. Maybe longer. And it would never be exactly the same as it was. Minho looked at the alien landscape around him. The Vorthak had changed everything. Earth's climate was different now. The oceans were a different color. Even the length of the day had changed because of all the mining. Cultural liaison Daun was having her own problems in the northern territories. She had found a group of humans who had been living underground for generations, hiding from the Vorthak. But when she tried to talk to them, they could barely understand her. They speak a form of ancient Korean, she explained to Jae-min over the radio. But it's changed so much that I need a translator. And they're afraid of us. They think we might be Vorthak in disguise. Keep trying, Jae-min replied. There are people. We need to help them. But Daun wondered how much help these hidden humans really needed. They had survived on Earth for 10,000 years. They knew how to live here. The humans from space were the ones who felt lost. Philosopher Seung-ho spent his days talking to both groups. He interviewed space-born humans and Earth survivors, trying to understand what humanity had become. We're not the same species that left this world, he told Jae-min one evening as they sat looking at Earth's purple sunset. The humans who lived in space have adapted to low gravity and artificial environments. The humans who stayed here have adapted to hiding and surviving under alien rule. We're all human, but we're different kinds of human now. Jae-min nodded. He had noticed the differences too. Spaceborne humans were taller and thinner. Their bones were less dense. They could survive in vacuum for short periods without a suit. Earth survivors were shorter but stronger. They could see in the dark and had better hearing. Are we still one people? Jae-min asked. I don't know, Seung-ho admitted. Maybe that's something we have to figure out. The biggest question was what to do with Earth itself. The planet was dying from 10,000 years of strip mining and environmental destruction. The Vorthak had taken so much from the world that it might not survive another century. Admiral Hyun-woo called a meeting of all the senior officers and colony leaders. They gathered in the ruins of what had once been the United Nations building in New York. Friends, the Admiral began, we have won our war. Earth is ours again. But now we must decide what to do with our victory. Sora, now promoted to general, spoke first. The planet can't support a large population in its current state. We could move the capital of human space to one of our colony worlds and use Earth as a memorial. No, said Jin-ho firmly. This is our home. We didn't fight and die just to abandon it again. Then we rebuild, said Min-ho. It will take centuries, but we can bring Earth back to life. Maybe not the way it was, but the way it could be. Chang-min, who had been quiet during the meeting, finally spoke up. What about the other species? The ones who helped us in the final battle? They want freedom from the Vorthak, too. Do we become the new empire? Or do we help them build something better? That question hung in the air like smoke. The human fleet was now the strongest force in the galaxy. They could take over the Vorthak Empire if they wanted. But was that what they really wanted? I think, said Admiral Hyun-woo slowly, that we need to remember why we came here. We didn't come to conquer. We came to go home. Over the following weeks, decisions were made. Earth would be rebuilt, but slowly and carefully. The surviving Vorthak would be allowed to return to their original homeworld, but they would never again be allowed to build an empire. The species that had helped humanity would be given their freedom. Jae-min was put in charge of the Earth Restoration Project. It was the biggest job anyone had ever attempted. They had to clean the air, heal the oceans, and bring life back to a dying world. Colonel, Soo-jin said one morning, holding up another artifact from her dig. I found something amazing. This time it was a book somehow preserved in a sealed container. The pages were yellow and fragile, but the words were still readable. It was a collection of poems about Earth, written before the Vorthak invasion. Jae-min read one of the poems aloud. Blue skies and green grass. Children playing in the sun, this is what we call home. Simple words, Soo-jin said, but they make me understand what we lost. And what we're trying to get back, Jae-min added. That evening, Jae-min stood on a hill overlooking the construction site where New Seoul was being built. Human workers and alien allies worked together to raise the first new city on Earth in 10,000 years. The sky was still purple, and strange plants still grew in geometric patterns. Earth was not the world it had been, and humanity was not the species it had been. But maybe that was okay. Maybe home wasn't about returning to what was, but about building what could be. Seung-ho, Jamin said into his comm, I think I have an answer to your question about whether we're still one people. What's that? We're not the same people who left this world 10,000 years ago. But we're not supposed to be. We've grown. We've learned. We've become stronger. Jamin looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were thriving on 100 different worlds. Humanity had spread across the galaxy, adapted to environments their ancestors never could have imagined. We came back to Earth not because we needed to be the same as before, he continued, but because we needed to remember where we came from. Now we know, and now we can decide where we're going. In the distance, a group of human children were playing with alien children, all of them born after the war. They spoke a mixture of human and alien languages, and they didn't care about the old divisions between species. Maybe they were the future. Maybe they would build something better than either the old Earth or the Vorthak Empire had ever been. Jamin smiled and walked down the hill toward the new city. There was work to do. There was always work to do. But for the first time in 10,000 years, humanity was doing that work at home. The stars still called to them. There were still colonies to build, worlds to explore, adventures to have. But now they had a center, a place to return to when the wandering was done. Earth, scarred, changed but healing, and human once again.